Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program on the moon and for the Interplanetary Chase. In the previous episode we deployed some long range, well not long range, but medium range satellites in polar orbits around Kerbin and the moon, and you join us today driving our little rover while we're using said polar satellite to obviously communicate back to Kerbin. What we're trying to do with our little rover today is I'm trying to get it to the twin craters. Reason being is because that counts as its own biome, and we may be able to harvest a few more science points. Obviously, this thing has done its job already, but of course we will not complain when it comes to getting a little bit more data right. And I'm pretty sure I got the map right. I'm pretty sure I've got our coordinates saved, so I know more or less where we're going as we attempt a quick save here. Of course, no promises, and rolling downhill. This thing's brakes are not particularly good by any means. It's got 6 of those tiny little wheels, and I'm a little bit worried that this thing may be ever so slightly too heavy. We should be okay though, as we obviously proceed to our destination very, very slowly. Of course, this is accelerated footage, and hopefully we can get there in one piece, right? As solar panels are keeping us fueled. Sun looks like it's behind us because we're driving more or less along the equator. You can see there's quite some distance to go compared to where we set off from. You can see our landing point there where the flag is. So let's have a look and see what's going on with the rover. We're going downhill straight towards a rock. Thankfully it's got no collisions, but I think the ground does. As you can see, we break off one of our wheels and one of our headlights. So, thankfully, of course, we do have those reaction wheels to allow us to, I suppose, adjust our pitch. Almost going to another rock there. So, of course, we have to use the reaction wheel again. And at any rate, I'm not particularly sure we're going to make it. I'm trying to adjust that remaining front wheel as an anti-dive kind of wheel, although that doesn't seem to be working very well, and ultimately we'll break off a few other wheels as well. And safe to say, we're not making it. We've already broke off another wheel, so we're down to 3. And it's a very, very bouncy rover, so again, this rover has done its job, although we will need to consider this for future roving missions. We need slightly stronger wheels by the looks of things, and possibly a wider base given how unstable this thing is, as we put the brakes on, collect any data we have, and I think we're going to have to call it a day with this particular rover. Now, you join us in the spaceplane hangar. I know. Shocking. Seeing as we weren't able to get some data from any biomes on the moon, I figured we're going to throw a bit of a Hail Mary here, because for those of you who've played career modes or science mode on Kerbal Space Program before, you will be aware that all the different buildings in the Space Center are actually considered as different biomes, and by the same logic, you can perform experiments on them and get a good chunk of science if you do them all at the same time. Which is, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what I intend on doing today. Now, we're going to do this with a drone because I don't particularly have much faith in my own piloting skills, and the last thing I want to do is kill our Kerbals who've only just got home after they've spent so long on the orbital lab, right? So, solar panels on here, just to make sure we have enough electric charge. And we're not... Yes, this does look like a fixed-wing aircraft, let's acknowledge this. It's not going to be a fixed-wing aircraft per se. We're actually going to try and make this like a VTOL in order to improve our chances of not dying, let's say. So I was going to try and use some hinges, but I don't quite think we have the science to, or not science, but the parts, so to speak, to pull it off properly. So what we're going to do is, these are our only fuel tanks, because of course the fuselage has been made of just structural parts. We're going to put some radial attachment points underneath here with some jet engines, and of course we have plenty of air intakes. That's actually partly why I put so many intakes, because of course if we're not moving, then we're not going to be getting much air, are they? And in a hover, well, it's in the name, you're not really going anywhere. So throttle up, giving it a little test flight, as you can see from the desert airfields. Nice and responsive, controllable. As we come in for landing here, I've completely neglected to put landing gears on, so of course we need to put those back. And yeah, so far so good. Of course we have our little science kit at the front. And in terms of where to put the landing gears, the only thing we need to hold up, I suppose, properly will be the jet engine. So of course we're going to put the landing gears on the wingtips there. And angle the wings upwards slightly, and the engines downwards slightly, just to improve our stability. Science experiment storage unit, of course. And I believe we're almost ready to go here. We're just adding a few more experiments. The atmospheric scanner towards the bottom there. I'm wondering if we could use that underwater, because I don't think that's something we've done yet. If we can, and once again, we would be more than welcome for the extra data, right? So here we go. We have our little VTOL on the runway here. Atmosphere analysis on the runway, ready to go. Collect that data. Throttle up, and we are up in the air. Another atmosphere analysis above the runway. And so far so good. So once again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to land on all the different buildings in the Kerbal Space Centre and get their biomes collected in terms of data, and let ourselves a nice bit of science here. So we need to ascend a little bit first, as we're aiming for the helipad on top of a VAB. So far so good. I have a funny little way of controlling VTOLs. I tend to manage altitudes with Z and X keys, which of course pulls the engine up and down. And here we go. So we've landed. We're deploying our first load of experiments here. In hindsight, maybe this should have been a manned vessel. Reason being is because then we could have brought a scientist and reset our materials study bay. So noted for next time we get desperate for some science, right? As we, of course, move on to the spaceplane hangar. A bit of a difficult building, as the roof is entirely sloped. But having said that, it looks like we've touched down, so we'll deploy all. And then collect all. Wonderful. Next building. As those wings are, of course, helping us slow our descent. If you can even call them wings, they're more there as a structural part to hold our engines on, but of course they do create some lift as a side effect, right? So that's always positive. Here we go, touchdown. I believe this is on the astronaut complex. There we go, collect all. Next up is, of course, R&D. Well, that might be the contract sensor, actually, what we just landed on. I can never remember. But regardless, we're trying to find somewhere nice to touch down on our R&D facilities. And there we go. Deploy all. Keep all that data. Collect all. And moving on. I'm not very good at remembering names of all the buildings here, because I've been playing this game for such a long time. I started playing in version 0.19 when, of course, you only had the VAB and spaceplane hangar. So it goes without saying that they've added a lot since then. Okay, next up, I believe, is the tracking station. As we fly over there, no need to pull our gears in, as it's only a tiny little jump away. Very interesting landing, because we've got such a wide base. As you can see, we almost completely miss a touchdown with our gears. There we go, nice little landing. Collect all. Wonderful. Now we're going to pull those gears in, because I want to go and investigate the monolith that some of you guys may or may not have seen which is just to the north of the runway. I'm sure you can see it now. And I want to see if we could happen to get any signs from it. I'm not particularly sure what it is, how we can get some signs from it. It might be to do with the anomaly, or not anomaly, but the sensing arm that we tried to use on our moon rover but couldn't figure out what to do with. So, of course, we'll see if we can do something about that. As we pull our gears down once again, throttle down, and come in for a nice rolling landing. The brake seems to be a bit too good as we run an atmosphere analysis. Nothing particularly special from this monolith. I'm wondering if we need to possibly be touching it for our science to be doable. So we bring ourselves in a bit closer, we bump it, but of course we don't get anything. So I think we've done all we can, bar our idea, of course, of running atmosphere analysis underwater. So we're going to push our way out to the shores towards Kerbin, or towards the Space Centre, better yet. We're already on Kerbin. And try and come in here for a nice little skim landing? Water landing. Managing our surface speeds. And just ever so slightly going to drop this into the water. Nothing on the science alert, and the atmosphere analysis can't be done. Fair enough. I think we've still got a good chunk of science. As you can see, we earned 111 science points there, taking us up to a nice total of 714. Oh my goodness me. Now, just running you guys through the experiments, as you can see, this just goes to show how good of a science haul you can get from a space centre. Now, if you watched the last episode, guys, you may or may not remember that our Kerbal Orbital Laboratory has completed its work. We've got the 500 science from the lab, and obviously courtesy of Albert T. Finkelbottom and all the crew on board. We are now sat on a nice chunk of science. Now, I think it's high time that we got our brave Kerbals back home, because of course they've spent the last 200-ish days, I think that's roughly how long it took, in Kerbin orbit, working away, eating snacks, hammering at their keyboards, whatever they do, and of course they must be getting a bit tired. So what we're doing is we're just building a return vessel to, of course, collect those Kerbals and bring them back home. In terms of controlling the orbital lab, I'm not particularly concerned, because that has plenty of drone calls on there, so I'm sure we can manoeuvre it somewhere if needs be. But once again, our biggest priority right now is just getting those Kerbals home. Now, we're using engine plates once again because I absolutely love them, and they are very, very compact and space efficient. Now, you might be wondering, where are we going to put a decoupler? We'll put a small decoupler followed by a fairing, and attach the fairing to the bottom of the engine plate just to make it all look a bit seamless. Clamshell deploy, set that on the same stage as the decoupler, and that is wonderful. Now, it's time to build our ascent stage. So we're using the nice big Rockomax 64 jumbo tank, otherwise known as the orange tank for us veteran players. We are going to once again put an engine plate, because we don't have an engine big enough to go on here. Well, we do, but it's not particularly good, being the skipper. Better in a vacuum, but what is better is 2 compact Bobcat engines, and we can squeeze those together within an engine plate. Now that's going to be lots and lots of thrust, and in thrust we trust, of course. Now, of course, SRBs on the side, on some decouplers. We're going to put a parachute on top of those SRBs so we can attempt to recover those, followed by some Separatrons on the SRBs to pull them away from them from the ascent stage when they run out of fuel. And just fiddling with our staging once again, make sure everything is looking as it should do. And last but not least, of course, we need some winglets to maintain aerodynamic stability during our ascent. We need to make sure, of course, that this pod here doesn't have any Kerbals in when we launch, because that's why we've put the drone core. There's 3 Kerbals on board the lab, and we need all that room. And as you can see, we have remembered to get rid of any attempted Kerbal jackings on this particular vessel. And we've timed this launch, I think, pretty well. to intercept the KOL, as it passes over us here. I never really understood the KOS mods. Maybe that's because I don't particularly have a self-proclaimed knack for programming, but I'm trying to learn. But of course, we're getting slightly off topic now as we get rid of our boosters there. They've separated Separatrons. Thank you very much. And parachutes deployed. Breaking through 25 kilometers now. And once again, those two Bobcat engines, I am a really, really big fan of this engine setup. Are very, very effective at getting us to where we need to be as we deploy our fairing, or at least the top one at least. And of course, when we separate the ascent stage, you'll see what I mean when it comes to the fairings and the engine plates and how you can kind of make it all work together quite seamlessly. I know that fairings as a part are incredibly heavy, but of course, if it looks cool, odds are it's going to work cool. And if you have something that's attached but also not touching through the wonders of Kerbal attachment points, then of course it's not going to look very cool. And there we go. That is our decoupling done. We've got those three, I believe, Terrier engines there that are going to help us catch up to the station or laboratory. Now, the eagle-eyed of you may have noticed that we in fact do not have any docking ports on here, and that's fine. I actually intended for that to happen because I didn't want to dock with the lab, so to speak. I just wanted to rendezvous with it and EVA our Kerbals from their living quarters into the pods so we can get them home. I mean, at the end of the day, some people might call it laziness. I call it efficiency, because if it doesn't have to be done, then why would you, you know? Other than, of course, to practice docking, which might be quite important later down the line, but, well, if we've gotten this far, I'm not convinced that it's really going to be an issue. 4 kilometers now. We are eking within render distance of the station. Although it doesn't particularly help that it's on the dark side of Kerbin now. So of course we're just adjusting our relative target velocity. Prograde marker is now on the station, and as you can see we've just passed it. Whoops. And here we go. Just getting ourselves a tiny bit closer, and it's about time we start getting our Kerbals on board. So first up is Munrik, our Maverick of spaceflight. Mustachioed Maverick he is, as we try and get him on board. There we go, wonderful. So that's one of 3. Now for our esteemed spoon pioneer, Mr. Albert T. Finkelbottom. That is assuming we can get him off a vessel. I think he may have forgotten his jetpack, as you can see, so thankfully he didn't float off too far. He was within grabbing range. So we'll rearrange his inventory there. We'll give Lido the strut to hold for now, before we get her into the return vessel as well. And we grab the ladder and pull ourselves in. Wonderful. That's 2 of 3. And last but not least, of course, our resident engineer, Lido. Once again, we need to rearrange your inventory a little bit. And we've given her the jetpack, so she should be good. Eking our way towards the vessel. Grab the ladder, and on we get. Lovely, so that's all 3 of our Kerbals on board. And let's get them home. Now, of course, we have no science to collect from the station, so I think we are all well and good. We'll wait until we get onto the light side of Kerbin, of course, because I'm sure our Kerbals would like to see their descent, well, as much as they can see from that tiny little capsule window as we switch off our engines and get rid of our orbital manoeuvring stage to expose our heat shields. And we need to make sure that the reaction wheel on board keeps us pointing retrograde so we can go heat shield first. Although, as you can see, we have run out of electric charge, which means we're not able to use our reaction wheels, meaning we're not able to manoeuvre, which may or may not be a problem. Thankfully, the aerodynamic forces do keep our vessel pointing to where it needs to be, and because of that, our solar panel starts pointing towards the sun, and of course regenerates our electric charge, meaning we have the reaction wheel working to keep us pointed the right direction. So all's well that ends well, right? As we begin breaking through the atmosphere in a very, very pretty looking re-entry owing to Firefly. I know I keep on glazing that mods, but can you blame me? You know, it makes the game look absolutely stunning. Breaking through 30 kilometers. Very, very quick. Everything is going according to plan so far. And the plasma begins to fade there, so it looks like we've gotten through the worst of re-entry stage. And of course, from now, it's just a matter of making sure the parachute deploys and getting our Kerbals recovered. So parachute has deployed on standby. Just getting a nice little photo here because, of course, this is a monumentous occasion, getting all three of these hard-working Kerbals back home. As we time warp down a little bit more, a little bit foggy as our parachutes open at roughly 500 meters above sea level. As you can see, everyone's looking very, very happy, I think. And splash down. Just wait for the vessel to, of course, flip and stabilise. And we can recover this. Wonderful. Welcome home, ladies and gents. We got our Kerbals back in one piece. Munrik, Elbert and Lido must be very, very tired. But before that, they have some ribbons. Now, Munrik has got the Kerbin EVA ribbon. He's got the Kerbin Orbital EVA ribbon, as you do. And, of course, the first Kerbin docking ribbon. Now, our resident spoon pioneer, Elbert's splashdown ribbon, the endurance ribbon. He's got the first Kerbin docking ribbon and the G-Force 5 ribbon. Lido has got the splashdown ribbon, the Mach 3 ribbon, wow, okay, the endurance ribbon, the Kerbin EVA ribbon, the Kerbin Orbital EVA ribbon, and of course the first Kerbin docking ribbon. Now, we're coming up to the end of today's episode, so I'd just like to say to you guys, thank you very much for watching. Of course, if you did enjoy this content, please do like and subscribe for more related content, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Fly safe, bye bye!